Hey there, everybody. It's April, going on and going strong. Today, I'm going to show you Six Gun Gorilla, Long Days of Vengeance, written by Brian Christgau and art by Adrian Savar. Just open up here and see for a second. Now, this is based on an old novel that had been serialized in Wizard magazine in 1939, and as it says here, it's written by person or persons unknown. Nobody wants to take the fall for this one. And it opens up pretty strong. Here's this gunfight in the desert. I mean, just look at this shot right here, this Clint Eastwood action shot. That's the whole book right there. And frankly, the book as a whole, it's everything it says on the tin. Yeah, you got a big gorilla with big guns, and he goes out for vengeance, and that's the whole bit. You know? And this gorilla's a bit special. Let's see. I might run into the story here at some point. The specific passage I'm looking for at some point. Because this gorilla is a bit smarter than your average gorilla. They've taught him how to read and write and communicate using sign language. All good stuff, all around. And like I say, look at that. You know. Now, as for the art in this, the art's pretty good. I think in some parts it looks a little too cartoony, especially the human people. But the ape always looks good. If I just had one criticism for it, it'd be too many panels with just a white background. A lot of the instances in here are just are just hanging out in the white void. I think there's a little too much of that. Now, you don't need a super detailed background because it would get in the way of the action of what's happening in the main panel. But just color this in, just a solid light color, stuff like this. You don't need it super detailed, just enough so that you're not hanging out in nothing. This book is just, it takes a little bit to get going. There's not a super amount of action until a couple issues in. But man, when it shows up, it shows up. Yeah. Like I say, it's fun. It's fun, it's silly, it's just hokey all over. It's everything it says on the tin. The characters are a bit just stock and standard, but that's fine, because if you try to go for too much depth, you just trip all over yourself trying to get the job done. With the premise this absurd, you just kind of need to go in broad strokes for a lot of it. And then in certain details you can go into and really make it worthwhile. And I think they've done it here. Like I say, it's pretty good. I mean, it's amateur in some spots, but pretty much all over. It's fun to get at and fun to read. Now, one thing I got to say, one criticism I might have for it is that the gun battles, yeah, look at that. The gun battles, which should be the main driving force of this, is you got the big gorilla. You're going to do exciting things in the gun battles. A lot of them just end up being stock standard, like you would find on any Western television show. Just straight up stand up, shoot from the hip kind of stuff. If you're going to do this right, excel at it, you need to make more use of the absurdity of the situation. So, you have the gorilla swinging from a chandelier and he's using his feet to fire his guns and stuff like that. Or you have a bunch of people standing in the shadow of a water tower. And so the gorilla, he shoots one of the legs out from under the water tower and it falls over and spills and washes them all away. Just like big, dumb, exciting stuff like that. And there are a few moments in here that serves pretty well. But most of it's just pretty much standard. Any Western action hero could have accomplished kind of feats. But most Western action heroes on a big gorilla. So you have that going for you. This book, I don't know if you can find this anywhere. Like I say, this is volume 1. It's independently published. You can see it's just one. This is just one of 200 that got printed up. I don't know I don't know if it can ever be found ever again. And volume 2 was put in it's either Indiegogo or Kickstarter campaign for volume 2 was put up years and years ago, and it still hasn't been fulfilled. Maybe it'll be fulfilled this year. There's a little bit of rumblings about that, but I really don't know. And even if it is, I don't think you can even order that book anymore. I think everything's closed off and shut off. So, man, not to brag or to show off, but it's impossible to get this for you normal people who weren't paying attention when it came out. I don't know. It's just a fun time. There's a lot of this. I anticipate a lot more. Look at that. Yeah. I anticipate there's going to be more Six Gun Gorilla stuff in the future. I mean, just the idea of it is too enticing not to mess with. Now, whether that's going to be stuff having to do with the original novel, more stuff like this. I mean, this is not even the only comic book series called Six Gun Gorilla. There's a series that's more, I say more sci-fi. It's almost, a science fiction comic book series, Six Gun Gorilla, that's out there, and I think should be pretty widely available, at least more available than this is. Like, just the idea is too enticing not to keep messing with it. But anyways, that's all I've got to say about that. So I'll talk to you later.